There we go. The x is supposed to be negative 2, so I'm going to put a negative 2 right there. And the y is supposed to be negative 5, so I'm going to put that right there. Now, once you have input the correct numbers in for the variables, then what you'll do is the final step, we're going to use order of operations to simplify, and that's where I want to leave you guys, all right? So we've practiced order of operations. I believe this will either be the third or fourth day with that. I think the third day in a row where we've done that. So I want you guys to try to take that, use order of operations, simplify it down to get kind of the final value, all right? Ready, set, go. What you think about this. So Esau, what did you do first? So you did the exponent first? Awesome. When you did that, what did you get? Say it again. Not quite. It's a little too much. So negative 2 cubed would be negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4. And then one more negative 2 would multiply to be negative 8. All right. So does that make sense to you guys? So negative 8 goes there. Thank you, Isa. And then we've got this negative 5 squared. So Lydia, what do you think about that? How would that? Positive or negative?
Positive.
So this we've kind of had some go-arounds with this a little bit, right? Do you guys agree with Lydia, or has she made a mistake?
Agree.
Yeah, we agree. Yes, good job. So that is positive 25. And then we have cleared all the exponents at this point. So what is left? What do we do next? Any suggestions? Do the multiplication. That's right. So I see a multiplication there at the start. What's a negative times a negative? Just shout it out. Positive. So negative 3 times negative 8 would be 24. And then 24 plus 25 is what's left over. So did you all get this answer right here? Yes. 49? All right. That's great. Do you have any questions? 49 would be our evaluation there. Anything I can help you all with? All right. Well, let's move on to our other one. That's number 13. Okay. So number 13, I want to kind of help guide you through this again. At the start here, we see it's an evaluation. We're supposed to plug some numbers in for y and x. So again, I'm just going to say it. I expect that you will use parentheses here. And so my first step would be to go through and replace any variables I see with just an empty parentheses. The first one's kind of unique. It's absolute values. I think I'll just do this. I'll go negative absolute value of blank. I'll put the input there in a second. Plus 5. And we've got parentheses 4y minus x cubed. But notice, every time I come to a variable, I'm just leaving that set of parentheses or maybe absolute values, just leaving it blank, knowing that in just a second I'm going to input stuff into those spots. Okay, so with this, when I go to input, the x is negative 3, so I'll put a negative 3 here, and the y is 2, so I'll put a 2 right there. Put in your empty parentheses. Once you've done that, then input the correct numbers where they're supposed to go. Once you've done that, we're going to use order of operations to simplify. This is a little bit tougher. So take just a minute here, work together, work on your own, try to come up with the correct value. Complete it or maybe get stuck, maybe need some help. So let me help you, or if you just need another moment to finish this up, that's fine. I'm going to work inside the parentheses first. So I've got negative absolute value of negative 3 plus 5. Now inside the parentheses, I've got a negative 3 cubed. And what is negative 3 cubed? It's negative 27. Hey guys, did you notice that this minus sign here continues on down there? It didn't disappear or just get swallowed up by the other one. It continues on down. It'll have meaning as we move forward. So now I think I will do this. I'm going to go negative absolute value of negative 3 plus 5. Now inside the parentheses I got 4 times 2. Going to do multiplication here. Of course that's 8. And then minus minus is really plus. So plus 27. And then to finish out the parentheses finally, I get negative absolute value of negative 3 plus 5. 8 plus 27 is 35. Now I'm going to just move over here to give myself a little more room. Let's go ahead and do the absolute values. Listen carefully to my question. What is the absolute value of negative 3? 3. What's the opposite of that? Doesn't that give us this? So it's the opposite of the absolute value of negative 3. It ends up being negative 3. So it would be negative 3 plus, when you do that multiplication we see there, ends up being 175. And then your final answer would be 172. Saw a lot of those, 172. So that's encouraging. So you get in the right answer. Do you have any questions about any of those steps, like why something disappeared or why something went in a certain order? Now's a chance to ask. You definitely want to say something. We'll see at the board here in a second, but I want to give you a chance to verbalize it if you wanted to. Okay, we're looking good then. Let's head to the board. We'll do a couple of these examples there, and then we'll move on. B squared. All right, ready, set, go. I would expect here, I would want you to write blank parentheses squared minus 4 blank parentheses in place of the B and the A and the C. Once you have done that, then we plug in the numbers. So negative 3 would go here. A is 2, C is negative 1. And then I think you guys did a really wonderful job with your order of operations. And look at all the awesome steps. There's a lot of good stuff up there. This ends up, as you guys said, being 17. So well done. Let's do one more practice at the board. So let's get the other folks up there, and we'll see what we can do. Let's see here. I'm going to do... Let's go with this one.
I was doing all the work, and Bernal, all you have to do is lift up your arms. Yeah, he's just laughing. He's just out there. I was like, wow, thank you.
Those are absolute value symbols there. All right, give it a shot.
Wait, what's the next to what? Wait.
Z. And you guys can maybe finish it out. So it says the height of a rocket in feet is given by that expression right there, where T is time in seconds. Complete the table below to find the height of the rocket at each time. So I'll do the first one here with you. So for T equals 0, what it's asking us to do is what we've been doing. It's asking us to plug a 0 in for T. So to do this, I would write negative 16 parentheses squared plus 100 parentheses plus 10. And then what I'll do is I will just fill in what goes in the parentheses. In the first case, it's a 0. So I will plug in the 0 right here and right here. And the order of operations ends up being sort of easy on this one, right? Because what's 0 squared?
0.
And 0 times anything is?
0.
And that's true of the first two terms, right?
Oh,
and so it's basically 0 plus 10. So when T is 0, height of the rocket is 10. This will be a little bit different, though, of course, with the other numbers. This will be negative 16 parentheses squared plus 100 parentheses plus 10. But for the second input, the 1, we're putting a 1 in there. So the order of operations will be a little more challenging. let's have you guys work through this one right here with the input of 1. And if you feel real comfortable with it, you're comparing, you're seeing good answers, continue on and do the 2 and the 3 as well. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll work on completing it together. What we can do here, there's definitely some common errors. Goodness gracious. First, and so before we do any multiplying or adding or subtracting or anything like that, we need to go ahead and take care of that 1 squared. So 1 squared is 1. Negative 16 times 1 is simply negative 16. 100 times 1 is 100 plus 10. We finish this off by completing the addition and or subtraction. What do you guys get when you add those 3 numbers up?
94.
94 is correct. So we want to be ultra careful. I saw a couple of different folks that did this. Will you please look up at the screen and watch very carefully? I saw this. Are you watching? If you're looking at me, you're looking at the wrong thing. You should be looking at the screen. I saw this a couple of different times. What has that person done when they did that? What's that again? Well, no, so they had this. Both folks had that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So what mistake have they made?
They need to order operations.
Yeah, they messed up the order of operations. They did multiplication before they did exponents. So that's why that would be wrong. That's the issue right there. Okay, keep rolling here. When you plugged in a 2, DJ, did you do that one yet? When you plug in the 2? What'd you get for an answer?
146.
146? What do you guys think of that answer?
I think that's correct.
Let's check it. Negative 16, parentheses, 2 squared, plus 100 times 2 plus 10. Order of operations tells us to go negative 16 times 4, plus 100, I'll get out of your way, sorry, times 2 plus 10. So that would be negative 64 plus 200 plus 10. I'm getting 146 as well when I get those added up. DJ, that was good work. Any questions on what DJ did there? Okay. Morgan, did you happen to plug the 3 in?
Yes.
And would you mind sharing your answer with us? 276. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So 276 is what Morgan says. Do you guys agree with that?
No.
Oh, all right. Let's check it. Morgan's usually right. Maybe she's wrong this time. We never know. Okay, would you guys agree that that would be a good start?
Yes.
Empty parentheses, plug in the 3. 3 squared, we have to do that first. Negative 16 times 9 should be negative 144, I believe. So negative 144 plus 300 plus 10. Negative 144 plus 300, I would say would be 166
Yeah, 166.
or 156
I was wrong.
plus 10, 166. Does that make sense, Morgan? Do you see maybe a step where you went wrong? So it should be 166. Okay. Did you get those right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's move on to our final topic of the chapter, which is section 1.9. Okay, so we're going to skip past the video material that you guys hopefully watched. If you have not watched it, please know you will be held responsible for it, even if you didn't watch it. So please, if you haven't watched it yet, it's 1.9 at the start. Please do. What's that? Of course you did. Who would doubt you, Hano? I don't know. Hey, let's head to the board. We're going to do number 5. Braden. You would? All right. Well, there's at least one, Hano. I'm sorry. Let's head to the board. Let's do number 5. One group up. Go. Please erase everything that's up there. I want to see what you guys have for number 5.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Get her done. Let's go. Let's go. There's room in the back, too. It looks like plenty of room. This really is just a one-step scenario. The answer for number 5 should be 30x. 30x because a negative times a negative is a positive. Let's go ahead and try number 6. Head to the board, please. 20m times 7. Please erase all the other stuff up there. Please try number 6. 20m times 7. DJ on the roll still. Who do you guys play in football, Deacon?
Erie.
Say again?
Erie.
Okay, cool.
I'll take two. There too.
20m times 7. As we see Levi finishing up there, he did a good job too. The answer is 140m. We're just multiplying these factors together. All right, let's try number 7. Gets a little more challenging. Head to the board. A little more challenging. Seven. Please do number 7. If you are at your seat, you should be doing this as well. Working through and completing all of these so you have good notes to reference later.
Would you do the same variables?
Take a look at this one. Hey guys, a couple of steps here will help. I don't know that there's really a preference here. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the first 2 factors together before I do anything else. So negative 2 times negative 3m will have to be positive, right? So you end up with 6m. We still have 6m times negative 9. So at this point, I've got a positive times a negative. So the answer has to be negative, doesn't it? So I'm going to say this is definitely negative. And 6 times 9, of course, is 54. So negative 54m would be the final answer. So you can do that in 1 step. You could do that in 2 steps. I'd be fine either way. All right, we still doing all right? Okay, we got a couple more to go. Let's do number 8 next. Behind number 8. Hey guys, what would you call the relationship between these 2 numbers? You could say that they are reciprocals. And if you multiply a number times its reciprocal, what do you always get? 1. So you really could look at it from that perspective, or couldn't you just reduce at the start and say that 16 over 16 is 1, and that 15 over 15 is also 1 over 1? And then you multiply across and you end up with the same thing. Whichever approach you use there should work for you. All right, so I think number 9 is our last one here at the board for the moment. So if you guys would, head up there, try number 9. Quiet down. Hey guys, hey. You have. Okay, so the distributive property is when you have something times a sum. Look up there. You see how in the first example, number 10, you've got 6 times a sum. The classic example of the distributive property is right here. A parentheses B plus C, right? Did you see that in middle school? Yep. And so when you do the distributive property, that A gets multiplied into the B, and the A gets also multiplied by the C as well. So the result of this would be AB plus AC. So if we were to take a look at an example like number 10, can you see how it's the same thing? Just with numbers and maybe a little more complicated, but it's the same principle exactly. Anders?
Would you put 6 into the denominator too?
No, that's what we're going to actually talk about here first. That's a good question. What I'm going to do, kind of like we did just a second ago, remember with the 72?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 6 over 1. Because 6 is not 6 over 6, it's 6 over 1 really. And so as I distribute this, and I multiply in here, I'm going to get 6 times x, which is 6x, over 1 times 18, which of course is 18. And then as I distribute over to there, I'm going to get 6 times 7, which is 42, and then 1 times 3, which is 3. Now in this case, there are some reducings that can happen, right? So 6 over 18 reduces to be what?
1 over 3.
Yeah, so this ends up being x over 3. And then what about 42 over 3? Can that one be reduced, or is that already lowest terms?
Lowest not.
It actually is not lowest terms. 3 goes into both how many times? Come on, let's get this question answered first, and then I'll get yours. 42 divided by 3, any takers? 14 is right. There you go. Good job. Lydia, your question.
Where'd you get the x over 3 from?
So it's a good question. So we had this 6x over 18. So the 6 and the 18 could be reduced, right? Because 6 goes into both. So we end up with 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So you could write it as 1x over 3 if you wanted. Say again.
You can't. Can you do like cross simplify, or can you only
Over the plus sign? Over the plus sign?
Like yeah, diagonal.
No. You can cross reduce on multiplication,
Okay.
but not addition.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Any other questions like that? That was a really good one to clarify where and when you cannot do the cross simplifying. Okay, so let's try number 11. It's another distributive property. I hope you can see this at A parentheses B plus C. Just stay at your seats for just a second. We'll do some more practicing at the board after that. So -3 parentheses, negative x plus 8 with your pen or pencil on your paper. Give it a shot. Ready, go, if you haven't already. Biggest principle we want to have good here is that a negative times a negative is positive. So negative 30 times negative x gives us positive 30x. And then negative 30 times negative 8 gives us plus 240. So 30x plus 240. As I walked around, I saw a couple of folks that did this. Please check this out. We'll talk about this in a little bit. We'll talk about it on Monday for sure. But we cannot do that. Does anybody know why we cannot do that? What do you think, Kenzie? Right. And what's the terminology we would use there? Okay. Terminology? They are not like terms because both of them don't have an x. One of them does, the other one doesn't. So you can't do that. Caitlin, go ahead.
Are we supposed to be finding the value of x?
Nope. There's really no way that you can because we don't have an equation. We just have to leave it as 30x plus 240. We've simplified it, right?
Yeah,
but that's about it.
Why don't you just divide 30 by both sides to get 8?
Both sides of what?
Oh yeah, there's no equal.
You got to have an equal sign. Got to have an equal sign there. That's a good question. All right, let's do a little bit of practicing here at the board. You can see them coming up here, and we'll just finish with this. So look ahead.
Oh, this is hard.
You're working at your seat if you are not up there at the board. With this one of the keys that I see moving forward would be to write this over 1 and to write that over 1. And this way, when you distribute that 1/4, you go 1 times negative 16r is negative 16r. 4 times 1 is 4. The second term, you'd say 1 times 40 is 40. 4 times 1 is 4. Once you've reached that point, you would just reduce. And so negative 16 over 4 is negative 4. And then the r is still there. 40 over 4 is 10. So your final answer should be negative 4r minus 10. And I'm seeing a pretty good number of those up there. All right, awesome. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday.